Hello everyone, back tuning into today's second video. We've already done the 5-day forecast. You can find that video here on the homepage. Just scroll down the page a little bit and it's above Stow Desk. There's also the written version, get that from buttons at the top of the page. Going to be a cold, wet and dismal 5 days coming up, and it all coincides with Easter, so it's a very poor outlook, I'm afraid. Best of weather unusually will be for the northern part of the country, and the worst of the weather, in terms of rain anyway, will be down in the south. But I think we're going to get some rain at some point. Not only rain, might be a bit of snow around at times in the north, and temperatures are going to be suppressed and depressed in the coming days. So check out the 5-day forecast if you dare. It might be sort of a get behind the stage long type forecast, this one. Very poor outlook really for Easter. But there we go, you have to call it as we said, and that's what the weather has in store for us this Easter. To be quite poor indeed. This second video is going to extend out beyond the 5-day forecast period, so we're going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days. It takes us into the second week of April. We're going to look for the signs of spring, but whether we see any, well, you're going to find out in a moment. Just to say that the competition is halfway through now, so we've teamed up with metcheck.co.uk weather instrumentation to give away this prize. It's the Climate Combined Weather Dial, and this is a thermometer, barometer and hydrometer all in one compact and very nice looking unit. It goes outside. It's worth $39.95, and somebody will be winning this prize, this weather dial, on Easter Sunday. So all you have to do is enter our competition to be in with a chance of winning this prize. I'm on MetCheck's website right now. You can find a link to this website on the Gazzo's competition page just here, and also on our links page as well. So this tells you more about the competition, shows you the prize that we're giving away. But the main thing is how you enter this. So it's a prize draw. You don't have to do anything difficult whatsoever. You just email your name and address to gazzovis@gmail.com, or fill out the feedback form, putting your name and address into the your message box just there, and then you submit it. And when you do that, I'll receive your name and address. I'll put you into the prize draw. You'll get an email back saying that you have been entered into the prize draw. And then on Sunday, you'll be in with a chance of winning the weather dial. So get emailing, and we've had over 170 entrants so far, can you believe? So quite a phenomenal response. Never had a response as massive as this one, so obviously it is a very, very popular prize, this, and it could be yours, and somebody will win this on Easter Sunday. For all runners-up, you're going to get an exclusive discount, a 15% discount, with an exclusive code that you can use on MetCheck Weather Instrumentation's website if you want to buy any products for 2 weeks from the 1st of April to the 15th. You don't necessarily have to buy that weather dial. It could be any MetCheck Weather product that you want to buy for 2 weeks. You have a 15% off discount. I'll give you that exclusive code when I do the winners video on Sunday. So good luck to everybody that's entered so far, and still got plenty of time to enter, of course. We are not closing this until Sunday afternoon. So yeah, get emailing, and good luck to everybody for doing that. Right, going to start off having a look at the Central England temperature from Hadley. So we're drawing down to the end of the month, of course. We're currently provisional up to yesterday, 27th of March. So provisionally we're standing at 4.8, an anomaly of 0.7 of a degree colder than average. So not a massive deviation. I think some people might be a little bit surprised, thinking that it's probably been a bit colder than that, especially when you consider that for the first day of March, we started off with an 8 degree below average temperature anomaly. We have seen quite a recovery from the extreme cold that we had at the beginning of March. But nevertheless, it is going to be a colder than average month. I don't see that getting any higher than that really over the next few days, the remainder of March. In fact, it might tick down a little bit by a couple of tenths of a degree. Wouldn't be surprised if it did during the final sort of 2 or 3 days of a month. Then there's usually a downwards correction as well, where they shave off 0.1 or 0.2 of a degree. So we're probably going to finish up around a degree colder than average in the end. And of course that follows on from February, which came out at 2.9, and that also was almost 1 degree colder than average as well. So obviously we are having a much colder start to this year. The first quarter, if you like, of 2018 going to be a lot colder than I would assume any sort of Q1 that we've had since probably 2013. So it's been a long time coming, but definitely a colder start to this year compared to many recent years. These are the GFS temperature and precipitation ensembles. The next couple of weeks we're looking at Telford in the Midlands today. So the red line here is the 30-year upper air temperature average for Telford. And we've got dates on the bottom. So that's Easter Sunday there, 1st of March. You can see up to Easter Sunday, probably Easter Monday, we are colder than average. Now, as we get just beyond Easter, we are seeing the temperatures ticking up a little bit just there. There's a rise in the temperature, although some ensemble members actually keep things quite cold. That's an interesting period because we have got quite warm air trying to move up from the south, but it is running into unusually cold air as well. So it's going to be quite a stark temperature contrast. I'm going to talk you through this in a second. There's going to be quite a stark temperature contrast by the early part of next week, which will either bring heavy rain and then very mild temperatures, taste of spring, or it might also bring some heavy snow. And seeing where the battle lines are drawn with that, or working out where the battle lines are going to be drawn with that, going to be really quite difficult. Then as we go through into the sort of end of the first week and into the second week of April, this period just here, looks like temperatures are ticking down again for a while. Maybe signs of a bit of a warming trend though as we get through to the second week of April. At the same time, possibly a bit of a drying trend too. So for the next week to 10 days, definitely it looks very wet. Indeed, this is all covered during the 5-day forecast period time frame, but even beyond that actually looks very unsettled. But the second week of April, this period just here, it looks like we're losing a lot of those precipitation spikes at the same time as we're beginning to lift up the temperatures. We have been focusing on the second week of April to possibly, after a cold and wet first week, possibly the second week gives us a spell of true spring weather. Not sure how long it lasts. If you saw yesterday's video, you'll know that the CFS, long-range model, is very uncertain about how long any sort of rise in temperature and drier weather is going to last. Well, it may not last more than a week or so. But for a time, the second week of April, we're still focusing on that to potentially give us our first real burst of spring weather. It's right at the extended range. It's a long way off, so just watch your space on that. But predominantly for the next week to 10 days anyway, we are looking at cold and wet conditions. This is how the surface temperatures are looking for Telford. So that's 10 degrees just there. That's freezing just there. Plus 20 is up there, and minus 10 is down there. So we're starting off underneath 10 degrees Celsius, going right way through to Easter. And I mean 10 degrees Celsius at the end of March is about where we should be in the Midlands, probably even a little bit cooler than that. You probably expect temperatures to be at around 11 or 12 degrees maximum by now in the Midlands. So definitely colder than average for the rest of March into the start of April. As we go further on into April, well, temperatures stay quite suppressed, but right at the very end, maybe signs that we're beginning to lift those temperatures up with a bit of a warming trend taking place through into that second week of April. We've already dealt with precipitation, lots and lots of rain coming up in the next week to 10 days. Maybe a bit of a drying trend in the second week of April as temperatures start to stage a bit of a recovery. Temperature anomalies are looking like that from the 28th of March through to the 5th of April, coming out colder than average for the UK and Ireland. Much of Northern Europe, again, is coming out cold than average, particularly cold, interestingly, across Scandinavia. I know we do have people watching from Norway, Sweden, so it looks like it'll be pretty cold up there over the week ahead. Winter continues. Precipitation anomalies looking like that, so significantly drier than average, interestingly, for Scandinavia. For the UK, though, it's coming out wetter than average for England and Wales, substantially so, and a bit drier than average for Scotland. So you can see that Scotland is getting the best of the weather in terms of dry weather, although temperatures will probably be lowest there. Further south, though, it does look really quite wet indeed. So this was the midnight runner for GFS. Very interesting run this one was. We're starting on Saturday. Low pressure anchored close to the country, bringing showers or longer spells of rain. That low pressure weakens and clears away on Easter Sunday, allowing this ridge to build down. Easter Sunday is probably the best day of the Easter weekend, all covered in the 5-day forecast. And then from Easter Monday to Tuesday, we've got this area of low pressure out to the southwest, which is throwing up an active weather front. Now, behind that weather front, we are dragging up the air from sort of the Canary Islands. So there's very much warmer air pushing up from the south behind what will be a very active weather front. But ahead of it, we have got unusually cold air that's moved out of Scandinavia and from the Arctic. So that's a real battle that's going on there, battle of the air masses, which will either produce a lot of heavy rain or maybe even some heavy snow. That's how things looked on the midnight run of a GFS by midnight on Wednesday. So again, all the cold air is into the north. We've got all of this warm air being dragged up from the Canary Islands in that sort of direction. And then there's a weather front that's in that sort of position. So what the midnight run of the GFS actually did, it had that cold air winning the battle. There is the upper air temperatures for the middle of next week. You see the big contrast that we've got. So down in the south, we are very close to bringing up the +5 Celsius isotherm. Behind that, that's true spring air. That's going to lift the temperature up to the mid-teens Celsius. But draped across the country is the -5 isotherm. The -10 isotherm is to the north, and the 0 Celsius isotherm is somewhere across Wales and the middle. So we've got a huge contrast in temperatures from north to south with an active weather front and a strong northeasterly wind. As I say, heavy rain or potentially on the boundary of those air masses, heavy snow is possible through the early part of next week. As I say, as we run up to day 10, what actually happened with the midnight run of the GFS is that the cold air won the battle. So the low pressure is squashed southwards. It's pushed back into France, and the mild air, or the warm air associated with that, is down to the south as well, as this cold air sinks back down from the north and from the northeast too. So this is a really quite a cold opening week to April, to say the least, and that's how we look at day 10, which is Saturday the 7th of April, and obviously the cold air has won the battle, so the winds are still primarily coming from the north, and the upper air temperatures look really quite cold as well. So a lot of heavy rain with that, potentially some heavy snow, and then eventually the cold air wins the battle. This is the 6 o'clock run of the GFS, starting on Saturday again with low pressure over the country. It's the very latest run. Sunday we find that a drier day, but quite a cold day as well for Easter Sunday. Then the low pressure down to the southwest, pushing up its weather front on Easter Monday. And same sort of idea by Tuesday. Again, we have got quite a contrast in temperatures. We've got the warm air trying to come up out of the Canary Islands in that direction. We've got the cold air still in place over the north. The only difference is that the warm air is pushed further north with the 6 o'clock run of the GFS. So that's where things are looking, or how things are looking by Wednesday. And the front is in that sort of position. It's further north, allowing most of England and Wales to be quite mild. But Scotland actually is still kept in those cold northeasterly winds. There's the upper air temperatures. You'll notice much warmer for England and Wales on the 6 o'clock run of the GFS, with the cold air really almost forced back just to Scotland. Beyond that, we keep very much low pressure close to the country, so it stays really unsettled going up towards day 10. That's how things look on day 10, when it looks like we're squeezing out those low pressures a little bit, pushing down colder air from the north once again. But as we go into the second week of April, we've gone beyond day 10 now, so we're a long way out. But as we go into the second week of April, spring starts to establish. So this is how things are looking by Wednesday, the 11th of April. Yes, we've got high pressure just to our east, and we're dragging up the air from a southerly to southeasterly direction. There's the upper air temperatures. That would be mostly dry weather with a good deal of sunshine, and you get temperatures at least to the mid-teens Celsius there. So, I mean, we're swinging between scenarios here with the extended GFS. Either we keep it quite cold into the second week of April, or there is the chance that we might get some spring-like weather. But before that, we've got a lot of heavy rain and potentially some snow to deal with again. This is how the ECMWF is looking for Saturday. Low pressure close to the country, bringing showers along with spells of rain. There's the drier but quite cold day for Easter Sunday. Then low pressure starts to move in from the Atlantic, bringing that wet weather northwards. Now this takes the milder incursion there much further northwards with the ECM. We push the milder air across the whole country with the front that marks a boundary in that sort of position by the time you get through to Tuesday. Does suggest really quite a wet day potentially though on Easter Monday. Unsettled weather then stays with us into the second half of next week. We turn the winds round to the north, so that's a bit of a cold snap coming up in the second half of next week before more low pressure is piling in off the Atlantic, bringing a return to very wet weather. And then by day 10, we're actually going back into a bit of a northerly snap again. But yes, we've got more low pressure in the Atlantic. That's only going in one direction, so that's going to be bringing more rain. It does look like a very unsettled first week of April, I have to say. And in fact, these are the 10-day accumulated precipitation charts from the Weather Outlook. So if you're up across Scotland, it's not too bad actually. You're only looking at between 9 and 20 millimetres of rain in the next 10 days. But come further south, Northern Ireland is getting anything between around 60 to 70 millimetres, and much of England and Wales is between around sort of 50 to 80 millimetres of rain in the next 10 days, and a few places down on the south coast around North Wales and North West England we're going over 100 millimetres in terms of the total precipitation accumulation for the next 10 days. So that's 4 inches of rain being predicted for some parts of southern and western Britain in the next 10 days. That is a large amount of rain to fall in 10 days, and the ground is already pretty sodden anyway, so expect an increasing risk of flooding down across East England and Wales, I would have thought, over the next 10 days, and that's particularly for the south and for the west as well. And as I say, there was a bit of wintry potential with that midnight run of the GFS, so I'll just leave you with the potential for that because the chart's quite interesting for, I mean, we are talking about going into April. So this is precipitation type forecast from the Weather Outlook, starting midnight on Saturday with the rain across England and Wales, and it does turn to snow for eastern parts of Scotland too. We go through Saturday, taking that wet weather away to the east. That takes us into Easter Sunday, where we are suggesting showers, and some of those could be wintry up in the north, but I think Sunday is probably the best day of the Easter period. Then into Bank Holiday Monday, here comes this wet weather piling in from the south. And look at that, it does produce, or it did, this is the midnight run of the GFS, remember, the 6 o'clock run isn't as cold as this, but the midnight run of the GFS did produce very significant snow through parts of Wales, the Midlands, Northern England by the end of Bank Holiday Monday, and then through to Tuesday, just a real snow event going on there across Northern England, Wales, and into Midlands. Further south, it's really wet, so heavy rain in the south. Bit further north, heavy snow, and it even carries on into Wednesday, so that's around 3 days for some parts of Wales and Northern England, possibly the Midlands too, that the midnight run of the GFS was predicting significant snowfall. Now, we know that the 6 o'clock run didn't go with that idea, and neither does the ECM. So I suppose what we can say is that chances are it's unlikely that we would get anything as wintry as that through the early part of next week. But obviously we have got a big contrast in temperatures. There's going to be an active weather front associated with that. So I think somewhere could well get some snow early next week, and where the boundary is, I expect to be further north, probably Scotland, maybe Northern England, but maybe Northern Ireland. But where that boundary is going to be important because it will mark the transition from quite warm air that's coming into the south and the cold air that's going to be established further north. Not only could there be some wintry weather early next week, obviously we're looking at a lot of wet weather as well. So, I mean, it just sums it all up what we said in the 5-day forecast, really. We're looking at a cold, wet and dismal period going into the early part of April. Hints are still there that the second week of April might produce something more spring-like, but it still is a very long way off. It's only hints and nothing definitive yet. Just got to watch your space on that. But between now and then, it's cold and wet with heavy rain, possibly even a bit of flooding. Some areas wouldn't rule that out. And also there is wintry potential through the early part of next week. But where that is, we're going to have to wait and see. Right. A lot going on, so we keep you updated over the next few days. Don't forget to enter competition if you haven't yet done so. That's all for now, and thanks for watching.